Hello and welcome to the first in this series of videos showing you how to create designs with the Designer Collection. This one will deal with the design of a simple sliding wardrobe. When you first log into the Designer Collection, you'll see the dashboard that you see here. We'll come back to this in more detail in a later video. For the minute, to create a new robe, simply click on the new robe design icon at the top. That opens up the robe design area. Down the left hand side here there are a series of room shapes you can work with, and the one you select will determine the type of robe that gets created. We'll simply select a wall-to-wall design, change the ceiling height and change the width of the room. Next stage is to select the type of robe we're going to create. So we're going to work on a sliding robe, so simply select it in the left hand side here, drag the icon onto the back wall of the room and release it, and that creates that robe in the room, as you can see, to the width of the wall that we entered previously. Various other things you can set for that robe. We can change to be a robe that doesn't go quite to the ceiling and change its height. On the externals we can add in a pelmet, cornice, and for the interiors we can change the height of the top shelf, the depth of the internal section, so the uprights and drawers and so on, and we can add in backs and floor and so on. For the minute we'll leave all that as it is. Next step is to set the styles for the wardrobe. So this includes the door style, and then from that the materials and the finishes for the door panels, for the frames to the doors and tracks and so on, the jambs, etc, etc. So you'd work your way down here setting up the style options to what your client's requiring. Having done that, next step will be to go to the design area. Now this is where you create the internal design of the wardrobe. Most designers seem to have a selection of standard designs that they work from. So a particular setup for a couple, or another setup for a son or daughter's room. Robe Designer makes it very simple to create these designs. When you're in robe level, as we are here, simply clicking one of these preset library options will create that complete wardrobe interior with just that single click. What's important to remember is that's not just creating the design, but also creating the costings and the list of components behind it. So if we switch over to quote view, as you see here, it's created a complete full color presentation, created all the components for it and costed those components all within seconds. So if we go back to the design area, so obviously having created one of these library designs, you could now customize this to exactly what your client requires. And just to illustrate how you would do that, we'll go back to the basic design. What you now need to do is to switch to what we call unit level. To do that, simply double click on one of the sections and you'll see the blue outline now surrounds the section you've clicked on, and you get a list of the different unit types you can add into that section. Now we'll start by actually what we call splitting this unit in half, which basically amounts to adding an upright right in the middle there and creating two sections the same as the first one you selected. We'll now add some drawers into this left hand section, so again single click on it this time to select it, the blue outline appears, and click on the set of drawers you'd like to add in. You can make it a custom width. We'll actually make it a fixed width, which means that its width will be different to the unit that it's going into. Now to take up the difference between those two, you have to then click on a second section to take up that difference. So we'll click on the one to its right. About the only thing that's hard to do in the Designer Collection is to make a mistake. And you'll see here that actually what it's warning you is that the drawers are going to clash with the doors if we don't move them. So clicking on yes will simply readjust the width of the units either side of it to move it to the right and make sure it misses the doors here. Now we can, having done that, carry on and create the rest of these sections. So we might put a double hanging section on the left hand side there. We'll split this one and put some shelves on the right hand side. You can see how quick and easy it is to create and customize the internal design of the wardrobe. So having created the internal layout, interiors layout for this wardrobe, to present it to your client you can now show the doors and show how they will open and close, giving a very good illustration of the access into the wardrobe. And you can see how by moving those drawers over they now clear these doors here, this door here. You can also add accessories in just to make it look slightly more lifelike, and you can add the dimensions just to check the widths are all as your client requires. So having created the wardrobe to your client specification, we can now flick across to the quote area. And you can see here that we now have the completed presentation, including an exterior view of the wardrobe, the specifications of the exteriors, detailed drawing of the internals and all the dimensions, and again the specifications for those, and then the price for the wardrobe. Now if your client needs you to reduce this price at all, that's easily done. If we click on the discount adjustment or price adjustment area here, we can change that price either by a percentage, or we can change the total cost including GST or plus GST or excluding GST, depending on how you want to work. We'll go for this one. So we wanted the included price to be, say, 1300, and click OK. Quote will readjust itself, and it will calculate back down the line to show you what the ex-GST price would be, the discount that you've taken off, and then the price that your client wants to pay at the bottom. Now you can check that you're making the right margins all the time you're working. Down at the bottom here, those last 2 digits shows you the gross profit that you're making on the job. So as you're discounting it, you can always just double check that you're still making the margins that you need to. And then finally, when the client actually gives you the OK for the job, your production department can then go into the cut list area, and they'll get a full breakdown of all the components in the job by type or section, depending on how you need these broken down. So the aluminium will all be broken out into the individual components, and in each case you're getting the material and the finish required for each of them. So very easy to produce. So that completes this this video showing you the basics of designing sliding wardrobes. Hopefully it's given you a good starting point, and from there you can go on and explore the levels of detail within the application.